Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Small Town Music. We are heading into fall break. I know Laura's taking a nice trip with her family and some other friends, so that'll be awesome for her.
Well, you're going to get to stay here in a nice, relaxing, just veg world, which I kind of long for.
Well,
because I may come back more tired than I am now. But it'll be fun. Regardless,
yeah.
We are excited for a break.
Yes, for sure. So today we're going to talk about assessments. We're kind of starting our second 9 weeks grading period right now. So it's a really good time to kind of talk about that. I think, a lot of us are kind of in that, between grading periods. We're starting second one, ending first, all those good things. So obviously informal assessment, going back to our college days. So as musicians, we are constantly watching our students perform, watching them play, listening to them. For me, watching their hand placement, watching their posture, what does their embouchure look like, all those good things. So there's a ton of informal assessment, probably more so in band and music classes than in any other class, because it's all based on how does it sound and what do they look like.
Yeah, it's funny because whenever I got my master's in curriculum and instruction, we talked so much about making sure that you're constantly assessing students. And for so many of the other classroom teachers, it almost seemed like a new idea. They're trying to find ways to do this. And I'm thinking, that's what I do all day long.
Yeah.
Is watching my kids, listening to them sing, whether it's my choir kids in high school or my kindergartners, just are they doing it? And you can immediately see and hear how they're doing. And so immediately using that to inform your instruction. So I guess that's what we're going to kind of talk about today is how do you assess your ensembles or your classes, both formally and informally, and also just kind of how do you work that in when you're also trying to prepare for Veterans Day or whatever's coming up.
Kind of like we talked about last time. So I try once a week, and I think I mentioned this last time too, for like a formal assessment. Once a week I do a music theory assignment, like an actual worksheet. And I like the worksheets because I want them to be able to write things down. There's a lot of evidence based around writing things down and how that's good for students to physically write their notes. And I need to know that they can do that they can write notes down. Like, it's kind of easy to identify, right and wrong notes and go on musictheory.net and they can just click random buttons until they get the right answers. But if they can't physically write it down, then that's a problem. Our friend is back. Smelly cat. Can't help it. He just needs the attention. So once a week I do, music theory assignment. And I do have a curriculum written down that is helpful. I often am in panic mode. I want to do a music theory assignment. Shoot, what do I do? Let's try this. I do start the school year out with a pre-test, just a basic baseline assessment that I do kind of go over every year and just is this what I really want them to know throughout the year, or do I need them to know different things? As a way to kind of scale, what do we know, what do we not know? And that's a completion grade. I don't thoroughly grade the pre-test because that's week 1 of band. Okay, I got your instruments and I got your lockers and I got, folders passed out and we got our first couple pieces of music passed out and pre-test go, day 3. So that's really helpful tool for me to understand where my students are at so that I can tailor my assignments to them. And I try to do that in 7th through 12th grade band. So my middle school band and my high school band. 6th grade band, I typically have had them in 5th grade. So I already know what they know and what they don't know. Or if you don't have that luxury, talk to the elementary teacher. Kind of gauge what they did before you and what their expectations were. And where if you're starting literally from scratch, you don't have an elementary music program, then cool, that's a whole other podcast episode. But yeah, and then I try to tie in all these music theory concepts. We do in the winter break semester, so first semester final I do. They have to pick a chamber piece of music, a solo or an ensemble from a book. I don't let them just like, oh, I'm gonna play Never Gonna Give You Up or something like that. Like I make them pick, like, you know, a real piece of music that has more than just eighth notes and quarter notes, or that they know really well, like something they don't know. And they have to write out notes and analyze it a little bit, do a background history on it, things like that. And then in the spring semester, like the end of the year final, is a composition project that they have to write a piece of music, like an original composition. And that it all kind of ties it all together.
So in choir, I'm really excited because this year having choir during my school day has allowed me to, you know, use a little more data-based instruction than whenever I only had them for, you know, a 45 minutes to an hour twice a week at 7 a.m. which is where I came from. And so having them every day, I don't do written out music theory with my choir, but we do sight singing. And so along with that sight singing then comes with, you know, okay, identifying where is do, what time signature are we in, reading those rhythms. So I guess it's just maybe a more practical approach with that. And then we do sight singing checks where basically I have 16 kids in my choir, so it's fairly easy for me to, in a day, usually I'll take a Friday and I'll take a page that we have already, lines that we have already sight read at some point in class, but I'll take the whole page, I'll pick one randomly and have them sing it for me, and I can go through it pretty quickly, and that just kind of shows me, like, do they have a general idea of what's going on. It also allows me to hear their voices, especially with, you know, with the guys, like what's going on with their voices. And if you teach a middle school choir especially, that's going to be really important to hear your kids sing individually. So with the sight singing checks, that's kind of how I evaluate if they know what's going on the page. I also have done part checks. You know, I know you do that too, like, you know, some playing tests, like, and I operate the same way. I had them sing the Star Spangled Banner for me, you know, because that was one piece that, like, this is the thing that people are going to hear you sing more than anything else, because we sing it at ball games and Veterans Day things and ceremonies and the Apple Festival opening and who knows, you know, all over the place.
And it's the one song that literally everyone is going to pay attention to, and everyone knows it. Like, they...
Right. So
we've seen the YouTube fails of national anthems.
Right. So I did that, and I just made a very simple rubric of, you know, did they get the words right? You know, like 5 points for the words, and then basically 10 points for the notes that they sang, and along with that was also, did they sing their own harmony part? I kind of taught my kids, you know. Yeah, so 10 points on the melody, like, did they get their harmony parts? Did they sing the melody? And so I could evaluate that way as well. So those are the two things I kind of like take time out. In elementary music, I have really started in the last few years trying to do some assessments with them. And those can be, obviously we do informal all the time, watching them, listening to them, going back and correcting. Just at the beginning of the year, I realized that I had on my curriculum, like, third grade, like, improvising on, you know, quarter notes, you know, ta, ti, rest, like doing like rhythm improvising. And whenever I was prepping that activity, I went and they didn't even remember how to read them. Like, it was like, whew, you know, but it was this immediate stop. Okay, we're going to back up. You know, I'm not going to keep pushing forward with this lesson, because if they can't read the rhythms, they definitely, you know, then they can't really improvise on them very well. So, and then definitely not compose with them. Just this week in kindergarten, you know, the first 9 weeks we've been working on our 4 voices. our whisper voice, our speaking voice, singing voice, and shouting voice. I always say shouting is not screaming. We never scream in music class. But
Ooh, yeah.
and so I was evaluating if they could tell the difference. And so on one of my little dry erase boards, because they obviously can't read great yet, I had like a little tiny circle, a medium circle, a big circle, and a music note. And we had practiced that way. And I have a little rhyme. It's October, so we did which fell in a ditch, picked up a penny and thought she was rich. And I just went along, and sometimes I would use the different voices and had each kid point on my board which voice I used. And that was it took, that little chant is maybe 10 seconds long, times 20 kids. So 2 or 3 minutes of my class time. And I got a really good picture that, whereas I really thought that they had a grasp on this, I realized that a lot of them, we still don't quite get it, to be able to recognize which voice someone's using. And so I'm like, okay, that's fine. We did that last week. So I know when we get back from fall break, we're going to do some more of that.
I think in elementary for me, I've been trying to do a lot more writing things down, because there's a lot of I'll have one kid, 3 or 4 kids in a class come up to the board and demonstrate. Okay, great. They know it. Sure. And then I get to band and they don't know their note names. There's a couple kids that took piano lessons that know their note names, and then the rest of them are lost and have no idea what's going on. So I'm like, oh, okay. We need to do a better job of that. And again, every kid gets a worksheet. Every kid writes it down. And every single week I say, every good boy does fine on the line. F-A-C-E, face on the space. Just to drill it into their brains that this is what we do to know our note names. And it's really interesting to see when I do some games and they're standing at a board kind of trying to pick the note names, and it's timed, and they're like, every good boy, B. Every good boy does, D. F-A-C-C. And so that's they know it. Mm-hmm. For some kids, I think it's pretty rare if I've seen a kid that does not understand the rhymes, does not comprehend. And so oftentimes I'll try to explain it okay, bottom line is the alphabet. If when we get to G, it goes back to A, so we have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and we keep going on. And it's just, trying to reach all those different learning styles too. Mm-hmm. With my beginning band, I have now, I used to do video recorded playing tests, so then I could teach class while they would record their playing tests. That just isn't great, because then they record it 15 times, and then it takes 2 weeks to do all the playing tests, because they can record as many times as they want. So I've gone back to live in-person playing tests, and I will watch them. The other kids are kind of maybe doing a note name worksheet or something. And I have a little half sheet of paper that's a rubric that I sit down and write, so it has posture. 0 to 3 points is unsatisfactory. 4 to 5 points is satisfactory. 6 to 7 is meets expectations, and then 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 or whatever is exceeds expectations or something. So posture, melody, can I hear the notes? Did you play the right notes? Rhythm, did you at least if maybe you don't know the note names, your brain has forgotten them, but can you play the right rhythm? And then tone, and then flow of music, or just roadmap essentially. Did you follow the correct form? Yeah.
Okay.
And so it ends up kind of being 50 points for each playing test, but it's a test.
Mm-hmm. Well, one idea that I've heard, and so hey, let us know if you've tried this.
Still no emails.
Hey, we have a T-shirt for the first person who sends us an email. But one thing that I've heard of people doing, I want to try this, is so we're a 1-to-1 school. All of our kids have Chromebooks. So if your kids have a Chromebook, an iPad, something that they're allowed to use in school. One thing that I've heard, especially bigger schools, But even if you just don't want to or don't have the time to devote class time to things like playing tests, is they have the kids sing, in my case, or I guess play as a group, but basically like the singers will like hold their Chromebook like right in front of them. So like we're all singing the national anthem, but while we sing, we're all holding our Chromebooks right up to our face. And the people that have pitched this idea to me say that, obviously just with the kid's voice being right up to the microphone, that it's very clear to hear that kid singing. But it doesn't take any more class time than normal rehearsal, really. Then they all submit it, and then and they also have the confidence of they are singing with the whole group, and it's not the nerves of I'm just standing in front of my teacher singing or playing. So I want to try that out.
I think both are good. I think making kids be a little bit uncomfortable and like, yep, you're gonna sit and play your instrument in front of me.
Yeah.
And your friends might hear you mess up.
And doing both, really.
Yeah.
Like, the Chromebook version might be, maybe you do that every week.
Yeah.
For one
like a 10
thing.
point. Yeah.
But then you have like your,
I do a playing test about every
real serious one.
Every 2 weeks in beginning band. That's also a good time for me to switch my percussionist. So in beginning band, we switch between bell set and snare drum. And so that's a good, like, automatic, okay, we did the playing test on number 31 on snare drum, so now you're on bells for this next rotation. So that's helpful, too. And I know the schedule is really good for the kids. I think having really consistent assessments, consistency in anything, like, kids crave consistency, so if you're not consistent, then it's just going to be chaos. But especially with assessments, so they know what to expect. Like, I assign it on Tuesday, it's due by Friday.
Yeah, so they...
Every 2 weeks, there's a playing test. Every 9 weeks, there's a written test, whatever it is.
And if you're not already using rubrics, use rubrics. If you want, I will send you my rubrics that I use if you don't know where to start.
Email us. Contact us.
But with having a rubric, it takes the subjectivity out of grading something that the kids could really easily be like, well, they just don't like me, or they just don't like my voice. It's not about that. If I'm very specifically grading,
you didn't play the melody,
rhythms,
you didn't play the rhythms,
right? With my sight, when I do sight singing, you get 2 points per measure, one for the rhythm, one for the melody, like. And then as they're singing, I can just write it down, and it's done. And so, and even with elementary, whenever I have them do, whenever I'm assessing their singing, like their solo singing, same thing of, like 3, 2, 1. 3 is like they're on pitch, exactly where I am. 2 is they've got the contour right, but maybe they're too low or too high. 1 is they did it, but their speaking voice or they're completely off. And then 0 is the only way you get 0 points in my world is if you just didn't do it at all.
If you just stand there and go,
or you just refuse to do it. So rubrics will save your life in assessments.
Yeah. And it takes the guesswork out for you too. Like. It's just a very concrete piece of paper. Like, oh, okay, yep, check.
Yeah, and it kind of keeps you honest, really, because, hey, if we're just being completely honest here, sometimes there are kids that you think, I know they have not done...
We have biases.
10 points worth of work. But you know what? If they just produced a 10 out of 10 product for me, then...
Okay.
Then that's the, and vice versa.
And that's the devil of... playing test too, is that just like any audition scenario, test playing, scenario, you have good days and you have bad. Like, I have a kid who, she hasn't played her saxophone all week because it's broken, and so she finally got a loaner today, because today is the day when Paige's, shout out to Nate, when Paige's comes, and I didn't have a saxophone to give her, so she was just kind of like, well, do the best I can with what I've got. And then I was like, okay, like, play your playing test because we're about to go on fall break and I don't want to have this empty grade in the grade book. And I know she can play it well. And that's the beauty of it. Like, you know your students, and especially in a small school, you're going to know your students very well. And like, my one saxophone player in beginning band, I know exactly how she plays. She just got a brand new saxophone today. So, obviously, it's weird, and she's got some getting used to. I know that, like, big, giant curriculums are kind of annoying to make. I don't know if you've already made them for your classes, your assignments in college, whatever. I was, like, vehemently against them. I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, no, I've done all this college work. I don't need this. I'm better than this. And I don't use it religiously, but, man, it is so helpful. Like, our district made us do curriculums, and we had to submit them.
Curriculum maps, yeah.
Yeah, curriculum maps. And, like, it has saved my butt so many times because while I don't do everything on the curriculum, it's at least a good starting point to say, what did I say I was going to do there? What did I... Okay, let's do this. And it just takes the guesswork out. Also, for especially high school band and choir, you just have so many things going on outside of the school day, like outside of just teaching, that... Like, it helps keep me honest on those things, too. Like, I'll put in, okay, August, don't forget to sign up for this. Don't forget to start planning for Green County Band Day. Don't forget to start, Christmas concert, whatever. Like, make sure you reserved the gym for your concerts. And it's just a good checklist. Like, I use it as a checklist in addition to what am I going to teach. Yeah. So, wherever you are in your path, I don't think you have to wait until the next year or even the next semester to sit down and write out a curriculum. Write out what you've already done, or if you're like, man, that didn't work at all, I want to change it, take note of that. And then, like, continue on through the year, or have, even if it's week to week right now, that's okay. It's at least a starting point.
Yeah, all good things. So, I mean, I think that's about it. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, we could talk so much about assessments.
Oh, sure. I could definitely go on and on about all the different assessments that I do and when I do them and why I do them, but...
And again, email us.
If you want that, let me know, and I will give you that.
We are here for you. We love to talk about our jobs, but, theoretical listeners out in the universe, like, we want to know what you want to know. And maybe you're at the point you're like, I just don't even know what I don't know. And that's okay. We can just keep finding things to talk about. Things that I love right now.
Yeah, we had this talk at lunch. She's got a great one.
So I've done this before, but I've just kind of gotten away from it with COVID and life and yeah. So sending out positive emails. It doesn't have to be every day, but like sending parents positive emails like, hey, your kid is doing some really awesome things and I really love having them. Parents do not get positive emails like that from teachers. If they do, it's very rare. And it's something, this isn't a novel or new concept, but this is definitely something that like we just don't do because there's so many other things we have to do and so many other emails. And it's a little bit of the like, well, are they even going to read it anyway? And they do. So my subject line is always good news. Hopefully that grabs their attention like, oh, what could this be? And then I, put like, hey, Johnny stepped up today and he tried something new in music class and I'm really proud of him. And he's also a really kind and nice person.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a novel.
That's a huge impact for that parent. Like I have one email that I sent, their parent works at the school and their person that they were working with sought me out and told me how much of an impact that was on that parent, that like how much that made their day, their week, maybe even their month. I had a kid come up to me today because I sent him out yesterday. And I was like, all right, it's time to send out some positive emails. I'm feeling grumpy. Like, I need to think about the good things too. And he sought me out and he said, thank you so much for telling my mom that I've been working hard. And this kid is not a, valedictorian, superstar, amazing kid. Like, he's a good kid. He's a hard worker. Yeah. But, like,
he's got some history too. Like,
right.
There's been some bad emails sent home too, I'm sure.
He's not on the honor roll.
So it was a big deal.
Yeah, so, and especially those kids, and I really try to seek out those kids that don't get those emails. Like, definitely the kids that often get not nice emails. So, number one, it helps you have a more positive day. Number two, it helps the parents and the kids. And I often get feedback from them like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is so nice to hear.
I know as a mom, you know, my kids are in 2nd and 4th grade now, and I never really thought before how much I crave to know how my kids are doing in school, especially not the grade stuff. You know,
like
you know,
your kid was really nice to this other kid and helped them out.
Like,
your kid auditioned for a part that I didn't think they would, but they're doing a really good job. Like,
Like, sure, I want to know, sure, I want my kids to get good grades, fine, you know, fine, whatever. But it's much more important to me that they're working hard, that they're being kind, that they're trying new things, that they're having fun, that they're, you know, exploring. And that's so much more important to me. And so anytime I get a positive email, you know, to say like, hey, you know, your daughter's having a great day today, or hey, Wilson did this really great thing today. Yeah, that means so much to me. And so please send out positive emails. It will be great.
We will send you positive emails if you send us emails.
Right.
So smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, my favorite thing. I was thinking about it earlier. So I use on YouTube, there is a channel called Ready Go Music, and they have a ton of really well made rhythm play along videos.
Yes.
I know during COVID, a ton of people did these, and they were definitely of varying quality. But Ready Go Musics are really great. They have everything from with my kindergarten kids, like icon modes. We do one that's like apple. It's like pictures of apples and pictures of pies. And so it's apple pie, apple pie, apple pie, you know. And so the kids can read along, but and it goes all the way up through their advanced modes that have dotted rhythms, 16th notes. And I mostly use them with my elementary kids, but I definitely use them with my middle and high school kids just for, you know, review, brain breaks, something fun on a Friday afternoon. Sometimes we just read. Sometimes we clap. Sometimes we use percussion for different things. They have some that are duets, which is a really fun. I just did that with my 2nd graders, and it's like they don't really know it. They're not really thinking about it, but they're playing, you know, 2-part harmony basically. I mean, rhythmic harmony, but they're but it's that ensemble feel, and it's written in ways that they can kind of hear. So I have you know, the drums play one half and the rhythm sticks play the other, and they can kind of hear that. It's like a little you know, band in 2nd grade, you know, without them really thinking about it. So Ready Go Music on YouTube. Check out their videos. I think they'll have something you could use in your classroom.
Yeah. All right. Email us. I'm going to get angry.
Yes. Check us out on the socials.
Yep. Instagram. I almost said Facebook. We're not on Facebook.
We're actually not. No.
That's okay. Instagram, TikTok, the YouTube, email, like, subscribe, rate, review. Nice things.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. See you next time.